I just finished what is quite possibly one of the best, if not the best game ever made. I am not even exaggerating. I have just finished the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I am sitting here. My monitor is right over there. It's on the Legend of Zelda title screen, the title screen for the game. And what a game, really. What a game. Obviously, this is going to be a non-spoiler review. I'm going to cover everything about the game without spoiling it, obviously. So you're not going to have any story spoilers or, any, spoilers for surprises you might encounter. But I will just say right now, what a game. What a game. It's truly wild how they took Breath of the Wild, which was already a super innovative game, a super, highly praised video game. Everyone thought, dude, how is Nintendo gonna, top Breath of the Wild? Breath of the Wild is, the perfect Zelda game. And they topped it. They topped it in Tears of the Kingdom. They took everything from Breath of the Wild, and they made it, better. They just took everything that made Breath of the Wild great, and they made it even greater in Tears of the Kingdom. So, with that being said, let's go into the specifics. So the first thing I want to talk about is the open world. Now, the open world in Breath of the Wild was already huge. It was already a huge, world to just explore, to run around on, to kill enemies on, and stuff like that. It was ginormous. And when Breath of the Wild first came out, people were like, wow, this map is huge. If they ever make a Breath of the Wild 2, it's going to be crazy how big the map is. And in Tears of the Kingdom, they use the same Hyrule map, but there is a lot added onto it. So they do tweak the surface map, I should say, the original Hyrule map. So it's not an exact copy and paste. However, it's still roughly the same. And then you have the Sky Islands, obviously. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't spend as much time as I thought I was going to in the Sky Islands. Before I started playing Tears of the Kingdom, I thought I was going to be on the Sky Islands a lot, because I thought that was, the major selling point of the game. So, they were going to have, a lot of stuff up there to do. There's going to be a lot of quests, a lot of enemies, a lot of, chests and stuff like that, a lot of puzzles. And I got to be honest, I didn't really spend all that much time in the Sky Islands. Obviously, the first 3 to 4 hours of the game, I was up there because that's, the Great Plateau section of the game. But other than that, I really only went up there every once in a while, and every time I would go up there, it would only be for 2 to 4 minutes until I would dive right back down to the surface. So yeah, just the Sky Islands, I didn't spend that much time up there. They didn't cover as much of the map as I wanted it to. There weren't really a lot of islands in the sky, at least not a lot of big islands. You did have a lot of small islands floating around here and there, but you didn't really have any super big islands just to explore and run around on in the sky. There are a couple, but there's not that many. So the Sky Islands, a little bit of a disappointment. I expected a little bit more, but there is something that makes up for the Sky Islands being a little bit lackluster. There's one aspect of the game that makes up for the lackluster Sky Islands, and it is a minor spoiler. They showed it technically in the trailers, but I don't think a lot of people realized what it was. It's not really that much of a spoiler, so I'm just going to say it here. So, in Tears of the Kingdom, there is an underground section of the game. So, you have the sky level, you have the surface level, which is the Hyrule surface, and then you have the underground level, or the depths, as the game likes to call it. And the depths is basically just an entire underground area of Hyrule. They doubled the map basically. So they took Hyrule and they just made it underground. They just made a huge underground under Hyrule. And it is huge. It is a huge area to explore. And it's brand new too, because we didn't have an underground in Breath of the Wild. Now, I'm not going to say what I found down there, because obviously that would be going into spoiler territory. But it was fun to explore sometimes. Sometimes. A lot of other times, I found it really frustrating. I'm not gonna lie. Traversing through the depths was extremely frustrating. And I think it's designed that way. It's supposed to be designed that way. It's super dark down there. You can barely see anything. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be designed to be hard to navigate. But I don't know, I just found it really frustrating to just stay down there for more than 10 minutes. Like, every time I went down there, I couldn't stay down there for more than 15 minutes without, like, saying, you know what, I'm done. I'm going back to the surface, you know? But, yeah, it was fun at first. I did find it tedious after a while, but it was still cool to, like, find out that there was, like, a whole underground area just as big as Hyrule. So, that is a really, really cool addition to the game. And I have no doubt a lot of the development time went into making the underground surface of the game. I could definitely tell a lot of the time went into that, because it is like a super huge underground space to uncover. Like, I played 70 hours of the game, and I don't think I uncovered even like 10%, 15% of the underground area. Now, granted, I didn't really spend like too much time in the underground area because I didn't really like it all that much. But it is a pretty huge area. So if you're looking for new content in the game, new areas to explore, the underground is definitely the way to go. However, I will say you'll probably find it really frustrating to navigate. But regardless, it's a really cool addition to the game. And then we gotta talk about the dungeons. Now, I'm not gonna say how many dungeons there are or where to find them, but I will say I really enjoyed the dungeons. The dungeons in this game are basically Divine Beast, but better. They're bigger, they're more expansive, they're just better. They're better versions of Divine Beast. They're bigger, the puzzles are harder, and I think are just like, it's more fun to figure out the puzzles than the puzzles in the Divine Beast. And the boss fights at the end of the dungeons are really cool. And get this, every single boss fight at the end of the dungeon is a unique boss fight. In Breath of the Wild, every Divine Beast would have, like, not the same boss fight, but every boss will look similar. So you had, like, you know, the Water Blight Ganon, the Fire Blight Ganon, the Thunder Blight Ganon, and, like, all that. There's a fourth Ganon, I forgot the name, but you know what I'm trying to say. All the bosses are, like, they basically all look the same in Breath of the Wild. They just have, like, different attacks and mechanics and stuff like that. But they all, like, basically look the same, which was, you know, pretty lackluster. But in Tears of the Kingdom, that is not the case. Every boss fight is unique. They have unique looks, they have unique attacks and stuff like that. Unique mechanics and all that, you know, all the stuff that you would want from, you know, different and unique boss fights. So I really appreciate that they didn't just, like, copy and paste, you know, every boss fight into every dungeon. I really appreciate that. And not only are the boss fights unique, but the dungeons are unique too. If you remember from Breath of the Wild, all the Divine Beasts, a lot of the complaints that came from the Divine Beasts was that, one, like, they felt too short to be, like, actual dungeons, but two, they all look the same. Like, all the Divine Beasts look the same. Like, when you're going inside the Divine Beast and you're solving the puzzles and all that, they all look the same. So all the dungeons in the game not only are, like, super small and easy, but they all look the same. They're not unique in any way. But in Breath of the Wild, or not in Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, it's different. All the dungeons have their own unique feel, their own unique vibe and stuff like that, their own unique atmosphere, which I really love. None of the dungeons look, you know, the same to one another. All the dungeons have their own unique feel to them. I will say 2 dungeons are, like, kind of similar to one another. I mean, like, not really. Like, I'm really, like, nitpicking here at this point. I'm not gonna say, like, what exactly, but there are 2 dungeons that are, like, kind of the same, but, like, not really. Like, you're not really gonna notice. But anyway, yeah, all the dungeons and all the boss fights in the dungeons are unique to one another, which Breath of the Wild didn't have, so that was a good change that Tears of the Kingdom had. And then we got the runes. Now, the runes that you had in Breath of the Wild were obviously Magnesis, Stasis, Cryonis, and then you had the bomb runes. And in Tears of the Kingdom, the runes that you have, the main 4, are Ultra Hand, Recall, Fuse, and Ascend. And I'm just gonna say right now, the Breath of the Wild runes are not better than Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom has better runes than Breath of the Wild, and I think the reason why the runes in Tears of the Kingdom are better than Breath of the Wild are just because the Tears of the Kingdom runes allow for way more creativity from the player than the runes in Breath of the Wild. The runes in Breath of the Wild just seem like super situational, you know, like they can really only be used in like specific scenarios and situations and stuff like that. And they don't really allow for much creativity. Like, yeah, you can kind of like fiddle with it a little bit. You can kind of get creative with the runes in that game, but like not really much. Like magnesis, you can move metal objects. Bombs, they're just bombs. Like you just throw bombs. Stasis, you could freeze objects, but only for like 5 seconds. Like you can't really get super creative with that. And then you have Cryonis, which you can only make like ice pillars in water, which is like pretty basic. I guess what I'm trying to say is all the runes in Breath of the Wild are just like very basic. Their abilities, at least compared to Tears of the Kingdom, just seem super boring and super situational. And then you have the runes in Tears of the Kingdom, and you have Ultra Hand. I think Ultra Hand is like the main rune. There's not really any main rune, but like it's the first rune that you get. And the Ultra Hand is like magnesis, but you could pick up any object and you could like attach objects to other objects, which is like, that is huge. Like that allows like so much creativity from the player. The player could go wild with that rune, with that ability. It's like that one ability just like changes a game forever. And because this rune allows for so much creativity, it really opens up the possibilities for what puzzles you can put in the game. Like I haven't even talked about shrines yet, but I could probably talk about them now. The shrines in this game, I'm not gonna say they're harder or easier. I will say like the shrines in this game are harder and they might take more time, just because most of the shrines use Ultra Hand, and with Ultra Hand you have to like put parts together in order to, you know, make whatever vehicle or whatever contraption you're trying to make to solve the puzzle. So I will say the runes, or not the runes, the shrines in Tears of the Kingdom are a bit harder, and they're not super hard, they're a bit harder, and they may take longer than the shrines in Breath of the Wild. I will say that. And I haven't even talked about like the other runes. Like you have runes like Recall, Fuse, Ascend. Recall, you could basically take any object, right? You could take any object and just like reverse it in time. So like, let's just say like you kick a ball, right, in Tears of the Kingdom. You could recall that ball and it could just like, it comes right back to you. Like you basically just, you could rewind like a certain object in time and make it go back to its like original, you know, position, its original state, which is like really cool. You can get like really creative with something like that, you know? And then you have the fuse ability, which you could just fuse your shield or your weapon to any material. You could fuse your sword to an apple. You could fuse your shield to a fucking mushroom if you want. Like you could just fuse anything and everything to your shield or your weapon. Like it's crazy how much creativity and how many possibilities are just in these runes. And then you have Ascend, right? And Ascend doesn't really allow for too much creativity. It's kind of like that odd one out when it comes to the runes. With Ascend, you basically could just like ascend upwards to any ceiling and then go through the ceiling. Doesn't allow for too much creativity, but it is a cool rune. It is a cool rune to use. It is a cool rune to like, you know, traverse with and to navigate with. It definitely makes navigating the open world a lot easier. The fact that I could just like ascend to any ceiling that's on top of me. So that is really cool. I do like Ascend, but it kind of is the odd one out compared to all the other runes because it doesn't allow for too much creativity. It is still good though. It is a good rune. Now, the shrines that are in this game act like the shrines in Breath of the Wild, right? You hit a shrine, you complete the shrine, and then you get a spirit orb. Or in Tears of the Kingdom, you get a light of blessing. And after you get 4 lights of blessings, you can go to a statue, you can pray, and then you can either get a heart container or a stamina vessel. It's the same like shrine gameplay loop as the one in Breath of the Wild, which honestly, the one in Breath of the Wild was good, so they didn't really have to change it for Tears of the Kingdom. If they would have changed it for Tears of the Kingdom, like, to me, it would have seemed like a needless change. You know, like, I kind of like, you know, you find 4 shrines, you complete 4 shrines, and then you get a heart or stamina vessel, you know, as your reward for completing 4 shrines. So, I like that gameplay loop, and I'm glad they kept it in Tears of the Kingdom. Alright, and then you got the music for the game, and I'm just gonna say, a lot of Tears of the Kingdom's soundtracks are from Breath of the Wild. When you enter Kakariko Village, you're going to hear the Kakariko Village theme from Breath of the Wild. When you're riding a horse, you're going to hear the riding horse theme or whatever you want to call it from Breath of the Wild. When you enter a cave, you're going to hear the cave theme from Breath of the Wild. A lot of the music in the game is from Breath of the Wild. Now, they did change a couple tracks. They did change the track that you hear when you're in a battle with like Bokoblins or something like that. There is some new music out in the game. Like when you're in a dungeon, you're gonna hear new music. When you're fighting a boss, you're gonna hear new music and stuff like that. So it's not like, you know, they just took Breath of the Wild soundtrack and just completely copy and pasted it into this game. There are new tracks, and they did change some tracks, but just expect to hear a lot of the same old music that you heard from Breath of the Wild. There are some really, really good tracks in this game, though. I really like the dungeon tracks in this game. I really like the music that plays in the dungeons. I really, really love that. The final boss music, oh my god, so good. It was so good. Just the music in the game is just phenomenal. It is phenomenal. And I feel like now I can't talk anymore about the game without talking about how the game runs on the Switch. And I think it's needless to say that it doesn't hold up super well. I mean, like, it's not terrible, right? Like, I could still play the game, and the game still looks great, and I can still have a fun time playing, but man, like, this game really struggles sometimes to, you know, keep up with what's happening on screen. Like, sometimes I'll just be, like, running around, like, an empty area, right? Like, nothing's really happening. I'm just, like, running around, and then, like, all of a sudden, my frames will just drop for no reason. Like, I'll go from, like, 30 FPS to, like, 20 FPS, 15 FPS for really, like, no reason. Like, it's not like I'm getting into these, like, huge battles and then my frames drop. It's like my frames drop in just, like, some areas of the game where, like, just can't take, I guess, how much it needs to process on screen. And as a result, the game just, like, drops in frames, which is, like, it's so jarring. And the reason why the game runs this way isn't because, like, the Legend of Zelda team, you know, didn't optimize the game for the Switch. Like, they spent a lot of time on this game. I doubt it's, you know, the actual game that's running bad. I just think it's the Switch hardware that is preventing it from going further. I think it's the Switch hardware that's, you know, preventing the game from going further as far as visuals go. The Switch hardware is limiting the capabilities of this game. Like, you could tell this game really wants to soar when it comes to its visuals and its graphics, but it just can't because of the Switch hardware capping it at 30 FPS 180p. And it really, really sucks. And Nintendo really needs to make a new console at some point that, you know, is more powerful. They need to make a more powerful console, and soon. But, you know, that's a discussion for another video. And then last, but definitely not least, we should probably talk about the story for the game. Now, obviously, not diving into spoilers, like I said, but the story for this game is so good. It's so good. I mean, like, it's not a story that'll make you, like, go crazy. It's not a story that'll make, like, that you'll lose your mind over. Like, it's not anything, like, too crazy. But I will say it is a good story, and it is way better than Breath of the Wild's, like, non-existent story. You know, I do appreciate that Tears of the Kingdom story does take place in the game, right? Like, the story, the conflicts, they all take place in the game. All the, you know, progression takes place in the game. Obviously, in Breath of the Wild, a lot of the story elements were flashbacks, and a lot of people didn't like that. But in this game, a lot of, you know, cutscenes and a lot of you do still have memories in this game. You still have to collect memories, but they're not really, like, memories, like, from the book. Technically, they're memories from the past. I'm not trying to talk too much. I'm not trying to talk too much. But, yeah, the story in this game, all I'm going to say, way better than Breath of the Wild story. And, obviously, I'm not going to spoil the end, but I will say, the ending of the game is so fucking raw. So good. I can't wait to talk about it in my spoiler review, but it's the ending for Tears of the Kingdom, chef's kiss. So good. What a way to end a fantastic game. What a way to end a fantastic, just great game. What an ending. And you know what, guys? That's probably all I have to say for the non-spoiler review of this game. I didn't have a script here or anything. I was kind of just rambling, just letting my thoughts go wild, just talking into the microphone. Just, you know, having, like, I guess, a quick chat, a quick discussion. And my spoiler review will probably be a lot more scripted than this one. This one was kind of like, turn on the mic, say what you want to say about the game. But for the spoiler review, I'm definitely gonna write some sort of script, or at least, you know, write some notes down of what I want to talk about. And the spoiler review should probably come out sometime in June. I'm not sure how long it's going to be. I'm not sure how long it's going to take for me to finish it. But it should be up at some point in June. That's all I'm going to say for now. But Tears of the Kingdom, man. I mean, what a game. What a game. I'm sat here. I just beat the game. And I'm just... If this game... Seriously, if this game doesn't win Game of the Year, I don't know how I'm gonna take it. I do not know how I am going to take that type of news. I don't know. No matter how good Spider-Man 2 is, I don't think it's going to top this game. No matter how good Final Fantasy 16 is, I don't think it's gonna top this game. I don't think any game this year is topping Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom, I thought was going to be a great game, and it turned out to be a phenomenal game, a fantastic game. And it has turned out to be my favorite game of all time. Tears of the Kingdom is my favorite game of all time. I'm telling you right now. It was Breath of the Wild, and now Breath of the Wild is second because Tears of the Kingdom is first. I can't believe a game like this exists. There's so much content. There's just so many good things about this game. Tears of the Kingdom makes Breath of the Wild look like a tech demo. Breath of the Wild seems like it's almost like, I don't know if it's actually happened, but like it's almost like they wanted to make Tears of the Kingdom in 2017. They wanted to release it in 2017. It's like they wanted Tears of the Kingdom to be like the first open world Zelda game, but it was almost like they didn't want to they didn't want to push all those resources into an open world game because they didn't know how fans would feel about it. So they were kind of like, okay, like let's just test it out real quick. Like let's just make like a simple, open world Zelda game. And then they made Breath of the Wild. And then when they saw like how many people loved Breath of the Wild, they were like, okay, now we could go all in into the game that we actually wanted to make. Like it's almost like Breath of the Wild was the test. It was the demo. They made it to see how audiences would react to the open world Zelda gameplay. And when they heard the good news, the positively received news, and when it won Game of the Year and stuff like that, they were like, okay, now we can really go all in to the game that we actually wanted to make. And it's like, I'm gonna play Breath of the Wild in a few days. I'm gonna go back to the game, see how it is. And it's just, the game's just probably gonna seem so basic. The game seems so basic now compared to Tears of the Kingdom. It seems just boring. Like Breath of the Wild just seems boring compared to Tears of the Kingdom. If you are somebody who loved Breath of the Wild, then you are going to love Tears of the Kingdom even more than you did Breath of the Wild, because this game truly is just Breath of the Wild, but better. That's like the best way I could describe this game. Tears of the Kingdom is like Breath of the Wild if everything about Breath of the Wild was even better. That's like the best way I could describe this game. If you're somebody who didn't really like Breath of the Wild, you didn't really like the, open world style of game design, then you're probably not going to like Tears of the Kingdom, because it is pretty much the same thing as Breath of the Wild, just, even better than before. If you didn't like the open world style of game design, I mean, this game is just as open, if not more, than in Breath of the Wild. So if you didn't really like Breath of the Wild, then sorry, you're probably not going to like this game. But I will say, this game does make it very easy to just follow like a set path. Like this game gives you goals that you gotta do, and you could just like follow those goals, just go to the main quest until you get to the very end. And if you're somebody like me who wants to do more side quests to like, maybe make their playthrough a little bit longer, you can do that. But if you're somebody who doesn't really like exploring the open world, you don't really, dig that kind of play style, then you could still just go straight to the main quest. You could just do every main quest back to back to back until you get to the end. So in my opinion, whether or not you're somebody who really likes to, explore open worlds, or you're somebody who really likes, linear games, I think there's something here for everybody. If you're someone who likes to explore open worlds, there's tons of content here for you. And if you're someone who likes more linear games, you can still just follow main quest in the game. Like, sure, you may have to travel to all those main quests and all those locations, but the game is pretty good at just telling you have to do this, and we're gonna wait until you do those things. And you can either just keep exploring the open world until you feel like doing the main quest, or you could do the main quest right away. I think the game is very good at directing where you have to go and what you have to do. So I think there's something here for everybody. Like I said, if you're someone who likes the open world style of game design, then you could just go off in the open world. You could just do whatever you want, do all the side quests, the side adventures, whatever. But if you're someone who likes to, stay on the main path, stay on the story path, then there's something here for you too. You can still enjoy this game for what it is. But anyways, that's enough from me, rambling on. I think this is a good time to stop the video to end it. So, guys, thank you all for watching. Watch out for my spoiler review that should be coming out next month in June. And I'll catch y'all later. I am out.